Hi everyone, welcome back to Lost in Bordeaux, and today is another video of me discovering the southwest of France. This one was really fun to make because I made it with Anne, who is a food tour guide and a chef and a food blogger. I'm gonna put all her details in the description below so you can check her Instagram and her website, which are super interesting. So in this video we're gonna show you some of the best places to visit around Langon, which is about an hour from Bordeaux. Now, our little day trip will include all the best things that this region has to offer: wine, markets, amazing landscapes. What more can you ask? So this is Anne, my friend from Aquitaine Travel Guide. So she is a tour guide, but also a blogger and chef.
I live through my stomach. Yeah. We're in Langon today, which is actually the sous-prefecture of the region. It's been that since the early 1900s. Bazas was actually the sous-prefecture before.
Anna's from Bazas.
I'm from Bazas.
She's a proud Bazadias. How do you say?
Bazadais.
Bazadais. I'm sorry.
Little bitter. They've got the sous-prefecture now, but that's okay. Right now, we're next to the Garonne River, which has always been very important to Langon. Back hundreds of years ago, it was used for the wine industry to transport wine down the river. Still used for that, although they also have a port that you can undock pieces of the Airbus for. There's an Airbus factory here in Langon. We also have the only train station in this area, so places like Bazas, Sauternes, everyone is serviced by this train station in Langon.
Yeah, I think it's an important point to make. Most people, I think, come by car to this region, but if you don't have a car or don't want to rent a car, this is like the best place to start your trip from. So you can come here by train, and then you have several buses that go to not many.
But if there are car rentals though at the train station.
Okay, so you have car rentals that you can come just take here and like avoid the 1 hour drive from Bordeaux, or you can, if you're into sports and stuff, you can rent a bike, and actually you have a lot of bike trails here along the river and to different villages, so it's like another option to travel if you don't want to use a car. We are here on Friday, and on Friday there is a nice market here. We're going to show you around a little bit before we go and have some food for ourselves as well, because actually we're in the beginning of 2021 for those watching later, and so all the restaurants are closed, so it's we're quite limited in terms of food and stuff like that. So markets are always the perfect solution, I think. So we're at the Langon market right now, which is surprisingly very good. And I think it's different than going to a city market where you can find kind of things from all over France. Whereas here it's like really local. You find some stuff that you can't even find outside of this region, because it's really worth visiting just for that, I think, to get to know the local cuisine. Okay, so we finally arrived at Verdelais. I always pronounce it incorrectly, I think. So it's a small village not far from Langon, where we started our trip. Tell us first about the village itself a bit, because it's quite cute, I think.
It's really cute. Yeah. It's very cute in the summer. They usually have like banners and flags outside decorating the small courtyard, and you can stop and have a coffee or a beer and sit outside. It's actually one of the few
you bought
small...
me already.
You're done. You're sold. It's one of the few small villages actually that's also growing in population, which is, I mean, obviously it's minuscule when you consider we're talking about going from 700 to over 1,000. It's charming, it's pretty, it has a lot of character. You're close to Langon, but you're also not in a village like a city that size, so you are feeling like you're out in the countryside. But of course, the heart of this village, and the reason why this village came to be, is the creation of this basilica. The reason why this basilica was so important is that so many people were coming here and being cured of blindness, their inability to walk. There's plaques all over the inside of the church, and it's just it's kind of emotional, like, to go in there and see that all these people for hundreds of years, they don't even have room for all the people that have said they've come here to be cured.
And many of them are just simple plaques that say thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of like for, yeah, so it's true that it's quite emotional.
So what's also amazing about this church is it seems to have been skipped during the Revolution, which a lot of churches, like the cathedral in Bazas, was completely ransacked during the Revolution in France. So a lot of them lost all of the valuables and all of the beautiful pieces of artwork. However, the Verdelais, they still have a lot of beautiful pieces of art. You still have all the plaques. You have absolutely gorgeous statues, and it's been really well preserved since the 17th century.
Okay, so now we are at the second important site of this little village, and this little town is famous for a very famous painter or artist, French artist, and
Toulouse-Lautrec, who, while he was born in the Pyrenees, but his mother's home was not too far from Verdelais. But every day she would come down to Verdelais to pray in the church that her son would be healed from he had genetic defects, I think. He had problems walking, he suffered a lot of pain, but he was also a habitual drinker. And then ultimately he would visit his mother's home, which was near here, and when he died there, and he's been buried in the cemetery here in Verdelais.
Okay, so here it is. You can see the little plaque of Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. And there it is, his grave. He's buried with his mother. Not sure it's a good idea.
Well, she loved him very much. That was her baby.
Okay, so that was the cemetery, but if you want to explore a little bit further the whole history of Toulouse-Lautrec, there is another site that is very important to visit, and that's Chateau Malromé. So it's a beautiful chateau, and inside you can see a lot of other things, like
it's the home of his mother Adele. There's a restaurant owned by the Darroze family, which is a very famous culinary family in France. They also do Armagnac, you might have seen. So they have a restaurant there, which is obviously closed for COVID, but the museum and tour itself, they do make wine, but it's a great place to go if you've already done a ton of vineyards, because their tour is essentially the history of Toulouse-Lautrec and his life.
So another really fun thing to do here when you're in Verdelais is to climb the Chemin de la Croix. You'll see stairs climbing up from the basilica to the Cavaliere. It's a beautiful way in the forest, and on the way you will see 14 little chapels, like you can see here. And it has this beautiful view, and it's a really nice walk. I really recommend you do that. Okay, so we arrived at the last destination, which is what?
We're at Saint-Croix right now, which is a beautiful village overlooking the Garonne Valley. This valley used to be the bed of the ocean about 16 to 20 million years ago during the Verdelais period. And underneath us immediately are a bunch of oyster fossils. So we're gonna walk down, have a look at the fossils, and show you where there's a really cool wine bar in the summer months to grab a drink of AOC Saint-Croix, which includes Lupiac and Cadillac. It's about 500 hectares of grapevines, which, just like its sister wine across the river, it gets botrytis on the grapes, which will shrivel up and make a really sweet, syrupy kind of white wine.
Cool. Let's go.
Yeah, so here we're coming along the oysters. Not allowed to touch, don't take any with you, but you can see the fossilized oysters, millions of years old. Clearly not much has changed. But
yeah, it hasn't developed.
no. It's just really, really cool, and it goes all along here. I read somewhere that they've carved into the oyster beds like a chapel, but I don't actually know where that is unless it's the hole that they use currently for a wine bar. Which
Yeah, so here usually, not even only in the summer, I think it's whenever the weather is good, practically, and there is no COVID, they have the restaurant here.
it's definitely not in the winter though, not at all.
Yeah, probably not in the winter.
Yeah,
but I think-
definitely
yeah.
certain months, but
And so you can have your drink here. Usually you would have tables here, and then look at that view while you're drinking your wine.
okay. So we're still in Saint-Croix, which, even though it's known for wine, there's a really nice brewery that's located here called Brasserie Distillerie du Cabestan. And the owner, Charles Delalande, he does everything himself. During the good times, he also offers atelier on like beer making. He's started to do his own gin. So he also makes eau de vie, like with the leftover hops and yeasts from the beer making process. So essentially nothing goes to waste.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Charles Delalande, je suis le brasseur-distillateur de la brasserie distillerie du Cabestan, située à Sainte-Croix-du-Mont. Donc je brasse ici 4 bières, blonde, ambrée, IPA et blanche brune, une bière très spéciale. Et je distille actuellement de l'eau de vie de bière et je fais un gin qui s'appelle le Gin Cab, qui est un produit très intéressant où je n'oublie pas de mettre d'ailleurs dedans du malt et du houblon. Pour vous expliquer rapidement comment fonctionne un alambic, je fais chauffer la cucurbite, donc c'est le dessous de l'alambic, qui lui-même est encerclé d'eau. C'est ce qu'on appelle un alambic au bain-marie. Donc je fais chauffer de l'eau, cette eau fait chauffer la cucurbite, où il y a la bière, le vin, etc. Tous les éléments, tous les alcools vont commencer à porter à ébullition avant l'eau, et donc ils vont passer de l'état liquide à l'état gazeux. C'est le principe même de l'alambic. Cet état gazeux, ce liquide gazeux, on va dire, va passer dans le col de cygne. Il va être recondensé dans le refroidisseur qui est ici et redevenir liquide. Et donc c'est là qu'on va pouvoir récolter dans ce bec de perroquet, parce que c'est le terme. C'est ce qu'on utilise pour pouvoir mettre le pèse-alcool ou l'alcoolmètre. On va pouvoir directement récolter l'alcool qui sort. Ici, c'est la partie, donc la future partie distillerie, avec les deux alambics qui seront là. Et ici, la partie stage, où j'organise des ateliers de brassage. Les dégustations dans la salle d'après, où on ira, et puis j'ai mis le chauffage, donc on sera mieux. et voilà, donc sur la partie stage, ce qui est intéressant et tout à fait inédit, c'est que je vais organiser bientôt des ateliers de distillation amateur sur des tout petits alambics, vous verrez là-bas, c'est en cuivre. Et ça, c'est complètement inédit parce que ça n'existe pas en France. Parce que par définition, la distillation amateur est interdite en France. C'est complètement interdit. On ne peut pas faire soi-même son propre alcool sans être distillateur de profession, comme moi. Donc, la possibilité de le faire soi-même en tant que particulier, c'est de le faire dans une distillerie, sous le contrôle d'un distillateur. Et donc, on va pouvoir le faire ici sur cet espace. Et ça n'existe pas. Alors il existe des ateliers de distillation en France où c'est le distillateur qui distille devant tout le monde, puis chacun repart avec les quelques centilitres. Là, l'idée, c'est que chacun aura son propre alambic et chacun distillera son propre gin.
So that's it, huh? Thank you for the amazing day. We're finishing it with gin. What's better than that?
What's better than that?
Oh my god.
Cheers.
See you next time.
Bye. Thanks, Ira.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and also to follow me on my blog lostinbordeaux.com and my social media, where I share plenty of information about living in France and traveling in France. So join me there, and bye for now.